This is Mike Sullivan. I'm a former IRS agent and teaching instructor. Welcome to my YouTube station. I am a national expert in IRS resolution matters. I've been on all the major TV stations. I worked at IRS for a decade. I've been in private practice for 41 years. I have a team of former IRS agents, tax attorneys. This is what we do for a living. I was a revenue officer, and being a revenue officer, I used to put people in I used to accept their offers in compromise, put them in payment agreements, or put them in currently non-collectible. So most people have no idea what happens when your case goes into currently non-collectible. So you need to know, and listen, there's a lot of people on YouTube. You think they know what they're talking about. They don't. Many of them are salesmen. Many are professionals, but they've worked on the outside of IRS, so they give it their best, but they really don't know what goes on. So let me tell you what happens when your case goes into currently non-collectible. Your case actually has a closing code on it that basically says, don't touch, we've looked at the case, and they will eventually put a TC 130 freeze code on that. That 130 freeze code simply means that any refund you get, that refund will be offset to your to your back taxes. So what happens when your case goes into currently non-collectible? It gets coded so everyone knows, anyone working the case or the computer system knows that this case either was looked at or maybe not looked at, but the algorithm read that this case we don't want to work right now because it doesn't have low-hanging fruit. So if a revenue officer or someone at the service center puts you in currently non-collectible, generally they'll put a closing code on that case. What's a closing code? A closing code means they've looked at it, and based on the financial statement or based on what they've looked at, let's say they put a closing code 40 on there. What that meant is when you reach $40,000 of adjusted gross income, then your case would come back out to the field. So usually a revenue officer or someone at the service center will put that closing code in fact on there so your case stays there. So what happens when you file a tax return that has a lot more money on there, it activates the case back out. Generally, IRS how IRS works, depending on their inventory and the number of people to work cases, IRS has a threshold, and that threshold a lot of times determines when they want cases to come out because they now have the manpower to work them. Generally, a case stays in currently non-collectible for a couple years, then it comes back out to the field. Some run the whole table and they stay in there for the life of the statute. You really never know. A lot has to do with the manpower of IRS and whether you have the threshold that meets this case to become out per the algorithm. You really never know. But generally your case will stay in there a couple years. What's the two downsides? Well, your refund will go to IRS. But what you can do to offset that, you can change your W-4 so you don't have as much taken out and no money goes to IRS. That's one thing that will happen. But the other bad news is penalties and interest continue to run. So I just want you to know when your case goes into currently non-collectible, it stays there for a season of time. It can wind up with a closing code on there, or the computer will wait for an algorithm to generate the case back out to the field. No one will ever know. IRS doesn't tell you. Even when we work there, the only way we knew is if we put the closing code on there. But your case generally will come back out to the field. So you got to be prepared for that day. When the case comes back out, IRS will ask for a brand new financial statement. The other thing is if you don't file your tax returns or continue to run up more debt, IRS may bring the case back out to the field again. So now you know what happens when your case goes into the twilight zone in uncollectible. I'm a former IRS agent. If you need me, call me. I pick up the phone directly. Give me a subscription. I give you all the good stuff that other people don't know. I will guarantee you no one on YouTube has ever given you this answer because they don't know it. Thank you very much. Give me a subscription.